It's one of the most famous openings in the history of cinema. An orchestral fanfare which has become iconic of space, science fiction, and general epicness. And given the fact that Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey has been parodied and referenced so many times in the years since, it's strange to think that this mind-blowing meld of music and motion almost never happened. This is the score composed by Alex North, who had previously worked on the soundtracks for Kubrick's earlier films, Spartacus and Dr. Strangelove. It's said that he worked so hard on the soundtrack for 2001 that when it came time for the orchestra to record it, he had to be driven to the studio by an ambulance due to stress-induced muscle spasms. Around that time, the executives at MGM were anxious to see how the movie was coming along, and so Kubrick cobbled together a working reel of the film with classical pieces as guide music. Supposedly, he liked the sound of it so much that he eventually abandoned North's score completely, telling him that the rest of the movie would simply use breathing noises. North knew nothing of Kubrick's final decision until he saw the film in theaters. It's interesting to think what would have happened if North's score had been used in the film. Rather than having the Glue Danube play in our minds whenever we see this scene, we would instead be remembering this. And indeed, there are some movie scholars who believe that Kubrick had always intended to go with his own score of classical music rather than the one he commissioned from North. Why? Because he was famous for his obsessive attention to detail. During one scene in the movie, he shows a character in front of what is meant to be a space toilet. The toilet only appears in that single scene, and we never actually get to see inside it. And yet, Kubrick had the full instructions for the toilet's use printed on the front. It should come as no surprise then that there are many hidden connections within this single, simple scene of a sunrise. To begin with, the famous piece which we've all heard but never known the name of is also Sprach, Zarathustra by Richard Strauss. Specifically, the opening scene of 2001 only uses the opening fanfare of the piece. Its title in the composer's notes? Sunrise. That's not all though. Also Sprach Zarathustra is German and translates to English as Thus Spoke Zarathustra. The piece by Strauss is a tone poem inspired by the philosophical novel of the same name by Friedrich Nietzsche. One of the key philosophical concepts in the novel is the fact that modern humans are supposedly only a transitional stage between our ancient ape ancestors and the future Übermensch, a higher form of human existence. Essentially, it's the entire plot of 2001. Zarathustra is also the alternate name for Zoroaster, the central figure in the religion of Zoroastrianism. It's one of the oldest religions in the world, originating in Persia around 3000 BC. At its height, Zoroastrianism was the main religion of the Achaemenid Empire, one of the eras of the Persian Empire, centered around modern-day Iran. The Greek historian Herodotus wrote about the religious customs of the Achaemenids, saying that they have no images of the gods, temples, or altars, but that they offered sacrifice to the sun, the moon, and the earth, the symbols in Kubrick's Sunrise. Had Herodotus watched the sunrise from 2001, he might not have been all that shocked to see the Earth from space, because if you watch the scene closely, the Earth never moves. This was exactly what Herodotus' contemporaries in Greece believed, that the Earth was the center of the universe, a prospect known as geocentrism. The Achaemenids, on the other hand, had their own form of basic astronomy which they had taken from the conquered Babylonians. Unfortunately, no records of it survive to this day. What we do know, though, is that these lost astronomical theories influenced the astronomers of the later Parthian Empire. They believed that the Earth was equal with all of the other celestial bodies, and that it orbited with them around the same plane. Mind you, this isn't the same as the modern concept of heliocentrism, because in this model, the Earth orbits with the celestial bodies, but it was certainly a step closer. These Parthian astronomers went on to influence a later Persian empire, that of the Sassanids. They ruled Persia until its conquest by Arab Muslims of the Rashidun Caliphate. The Muslim invasion of Persia was a turning point in the history of the region, as it marked the decline of Zoroastrianism as the state's religion in the favor of Islam, the religion which would continue to dominate Persia up until the 1979 Iranian Revolution, which established the currently present Islamic Republic of Iran. But while the Rashidun introduced Islam to the region, they also took elements of Persian culture home with them. Sassanid ideas of the universe became one of the foundations of Islamic astronomy, which came to dominate the region all the way up till the 15th century. In that time, the mathematics used to calculate astronomical movements advanced to a degree that would not be matched in Europe until the Renaissance. Also of note is the fact that the Sassanids were among the first to use the symbol of the crescent and star. By the time of the Sassanids, the sun, earth, and moon symbol, which had featured in Zoroastrianism and which Kubrick had emulated in the opening of 2001, had changed. The earth had been removed, and the sun had become a star. The symbol was used on Sassanid coins and other artifacts from the time, and it's thought that the invading Rashidun and subsequent Muslim dynasties used this symbol in their art in reference to the Sassanids. Later, the Ottoman Empire would use the symbol on its flag until its defeat in World War I. The symbol, however, would live on in the minds of Arab nationalists after World War II, who elevated the star and crescent to its current use as a symbol of Islam. So there you have it, another informational video, since a lot of guys have told me you do like them. I'm going to be brief because this video is long enough as it is. Today's shout out goes to Daniel Lowe for this video. It also goes to him for giving me the idea for this video. If he doesn't remember how, he can ask me when he sees me. I apologize for not having put up a video last week, but hey, I've been busy. I will hopefully be putting up a video next week, but then after that I probably won't have another video up for a month, because busy. Suggestions and questions in the comments as always. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. The thing about filming is I have to turn off my fan, and it's 35 degrees, and I'm wearing a black shirt because it has Star Trek on it, so yeah.